So we will walk through this process like doing service safari, and some brief overview. How does it look like? It is made out of 6 stages. So the first stage is quite obvious. You need to gather some login or registration data or initiate user data and perhaps verify email. That's something what is done on or all platforms and apps, so that's quite obvious. Then stage 1, the hero gathers personal data and does identity verification through liveness check and selfie and document pictures. We will go through it, and that's like, say, that is a common need, and probably you might be interested how does this particular part look like. Another stage is gathering data about tax residencies of the customer, because it implies like how do you calculate dividend for them or how do you send them, and it's a useful data. Legal contract, that's quite brief, but they first gather those data, and then probably in the back office there is the process of due diligence of the customers, verifying that he is not listed on any terrorist lists or sanction list, and his documents are legit. He is not a politically exposed person, and so on, so on. This happens in the back office, or automatically or not automatically, that we cannot see from the front-end process or the customer, the process which is seen by the customer. Then they have short legal contract, which is simply accepting terms of services. Stage 4 is bank account confirmation or verifications. That's again, I think, not a result of a regulatory need, but rather practical need. They want to know that the money are flowing into this their business are coming from your account, so they verify the data in the bank account whether they are the same, the data which will go through with the bank transfers. And they have 2 ways of doing it: manual, where you copy some data to your bank account and send a small wire, or automated using Trustly, a third-party provider in understanding of PSD2, which allows to automate this process of putting wire name or wire notice and initiating it and confirming that it was sent, and gathering the data from the account like address and your first name and last name. And final stage, 5th, it's actually like a recurring stage. It's adequacy test or MyFit regulatory test, which is about testing the user knowledge and adequacy of the financial product offered. In that case, it's about your needed knowledge of stocks and investing in stock, what risks are connected, and so on. And they have a lot of these tests for different product lines. That's something nicely solved. So you have different tests for ETFs, stocks, ADRs or leverage products, and various classes of products have separate tests which you may find in like a panel. Okay, so that's a brief overview of how does this process look like in general, and now let's go through it. So I actually started my opening of this bank account also from the website on a computer, because when I decided that I want to have exposure for stocks of China stocks, I was ready to, let's say, do that stuff on computer, but that's not the I don't know how often is this case. My colleague did it the same way, so here you may see how they allow you to start the process on a computer normal device, let's say. So you open the account, like confirm the email address, and yeah, put in your login and password. That's quite obvious, but then they ask you to actually go to a mobile app, and you need to download a mobile app. They inform you what documents, what you need to prepare before starting that process, so that you do need actually a smartphone which is able to handle the application. You do need an ID or passport, and you do need a bank account number. And then we go to the mobile app process. So if this process started on someone's mobile, probably it would start here. So you would also enter some data like email to set, and let's say not verified account, and then the first out of 5 stages would be to provide your personal data. Again, reminder of what you will need to fulfill this process. It's a pity that they don't show how much time it can take and what are the further steps. I like such overview, but maybe some UX research dictated, or maybe not. They ask you to provide first name, last name, as in passport, and explicitly stated in the instruction. So that's fine. And then they verify mobile number or phone number with short message or phone call. We took short message. Some apps are able to copy this code from the Android short message app. Like you do not need to copy paste it or retype it. Then they gather like residence address or living address, and you need to type it or choose countries from available list. And then they start the document verification ID. Again, explicitly state that driving license is not accepted, passports and national ID are accepted. You choose a country, obviously, from which issued this document, and then you choose whether it's like passport or national ID. And then it has some sub-steps. On the bottom you can see that there will be like 3 sub-steps. It's a sub-process of gathering this document data, and you take 2 pictures of your ID. This is often, or not often, this is used to make sure that this is an authentic ID. So if it would be faked with 1 picture only from the optimal point of view, you might not see some things. If you have a picture in angle, it allows say these professionals to detect whether there are holograms or stuff like this works fine. And perhaps also some artificial intelligence algorithms nowadays are also able to recognize it. And then it presents to the end user the data which came from optical character recognitions of this document. So again, name and surname, date of birth, document ID, and date of validity of this ID. The user confirms it. Double seems they did also some double check of document number and first name and second name. Then they gather data about place of birth and the country of birth. That's probably something you cannot change and helps to identify people coming from high-risk countries. And that's an interesting part for me. It's a possibility of use near-field communication to gather again data from your passport. Most passports do have near-field communication chips in them. However, I think it's first time I see it on a financial institution onboarding, and probably is not relevant to US market, because as far as I know, Apple chose to not allow access to near-field communication in iPhones or iPads. So in Apple products, you need a phone with Android installed. Android does allow developers access, so the apps can access its NFC interface, and through it you could scan your passport or different near-field communication stickers with this with any or not any but a lot of Android mobile devices. And then the hero wanted to use also to read the data from passport chip. That's pretty interesting or pretty nice. I think passports do need also some authorization data which come probably from the OCR stage, so from the pictures. You might need some short code to provide in the communicate sent to the chip in the passport to allow you to access the data gathered in the passport. Unfortunately, we didn't check it because we took the national ID, which is like more popular option, at least in Poland. And then they direct our user to liveness test, so-called liveness test. The user is asked to rotate his head in given directions, and I like the fact that the app shows you visually how you should do it, and if there is a backlight or some poor lighting conditions, it also makes some remarks about that aspect. And this is liveness check, so-called stage. It might vary across jurisdictions and according to risk appetite from the given financial institution. I saw some banks in Germany or Switzerland requiring a video call with an actual person, not accepting just, let's say, pictures or stream with such actions required, like rotating head in given directions, as a proof of liveness test. And not only liveness test, because video call allows these institutions to make also sure that they are, for example, alone in the room, no one is pressing them to open the account, that they are sober, and so on and so on. But seems this way of probing liveness is fine in many use cases. Now it's the we skipped a little part with geolocation. Yeah, geolocation. So the hero wanted to use geolocation capability of the phone and the app to confirm that you are in the country where you claim to be. That's an interesting choice, and I think that's something could have been done better. N26 did it more elegantly. They used this geolocalization earlier in the process, so they also tried to suggest you the address, your like residence address or address you are living in, with assumption that probably a lot of people open bank accounts or financial services accounts at home. So they took the GPS coordinates, asked some API to convert it to the closest postal address, and pre-filled the form with data coming from such API and to confirm. So it spared user from entering address details, which was quite nice. And yeah, that's something I liked very much about that other process in N26. So here we can see this gathering data specific to a country. PESEL, it's like a unique identification number of a person in Poland. And some countries do have it, so it might be tailored to the residency or citizenship of the user. Now you see the part with so-called FATCA or tax, whether you are an American tax, not resident, but US person in understanding of US tax treaty. Finally, they also gather some data with your profession or what you do. That might have something to do with so-called source of wealth questions or processes and risk scoring. And finally, it moved to gather data about the bank account they want to interact with. So the bank account where money will come from for buying stocks and where they will return the money or pay out dividends, or you will be able to make payouts from their brokerage account to normal bank account. And now it states the verification process. We don't have recorded this verification process. Perhaps we will show this trustly automated verification as a payment initiation service integrated with them to in some webinar later with PSD2 theme. And that's the stage. Let me sweep. Sorry. Give me a sec. So these were the stages we discussed or we went through. There is one more stage which is adequacy test or MyFit test, and in crowdfunding business or an investing business or brokerage businesses, probably also insurance businesses, this adequacy test trying to fit the financial product to the needs and knowledge of the end user is something needed. There is also some regulation directive coming to crypto world in few years, probably in EU, which will require a similar step. Let's see it again also. So after getting to this panel logging in, you are able to go through adequacy test, and that's like an e-learning platform test, let's say, with some questions about your education, and that's something probably you want to check with your legal or compliance team. compliance team. But nice aspect I like in the hero about it is that if you provide wrong or question or answer which will imply some, let's say, restrictions or not enough points, it suggests you with these orange colors that it might be not suitable product for you or might be too risky for you. And when you give correct answers, you know that you gave correct answer, for example, for knowledge testing question. And yeah, as mentioned on the earlier slides or stages, this is one of many tests. You need to do separate tests or subtests consisting of some amount of questions for different product lines or products with different risks. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. Oops, sorry. So the sub-steps we saw are visualized here. I think if you leave your email on our landing page, which you will find in this event details, we can provide some, let's say, documents or go through these slides with this documentation. That's the sub-process, what data were gathered on given steps. What was interesting or made me wonder why they did not ask whether the user is a politically exposed person, so-called PEP. That's something required, I think, in EU Directive 6, and it's implemented in many Polish legal financial service entities already. Is it time, or was it put somewhere, for example, in the contract that I'm not a politically exposed person? And there was also no explicit confirmation that I am opening the account to myself, so I'm the beneficial owner of the account. Maybe that's something which is also put it in the contract. We did not go into the details of the contract.